Hello and welcome to the Pixel Scandal Nerdcast, episode 49. I'm Kurt.
Yeah, it's you. You're looking around like
And
he's crazy.
hello!
Nightson.
Oreztes.
Gigett.
Handor.
And tonight's spotlight topic is going to be on esports, trend or the future.
Don't those mean the same thing?
I know. I don't know. Tonight's topic
Esports
is
have been
submitted
dead for years. See you next week.
by End of Line. But before we get to our spotlight topic, Endo, do we have any announcements?
We do. We have our next Paper Scandal side quest, which will be Saturday, April 27th at 9 a.m. That's going to be Dialect, run by our guest GM, Yoshi. So that one's coming pretty soon.
Yeah.
Pretty soon. It'll be our next side quest game.
And then we neglected to put it here, but we also have the reschedule of our finale of Dungeon World.
Which we do not have a date for quite yet, but we will be
Soon.
rescheduling it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, as soon as we get everybody scheduled in, we'll update the event and get that out to everybody.
Yes.
We do have a little bit of information about that last Dungeon World game, though. Bufo is going to die.
We're gonna make frog leg soup.
I must say, Kurt, your beard is looking very mighty distinguished tonight.
Take it offline. Take it offline, guys.
Yeah.
Take it offline.
Thanks, Sexy.
So let's go into what we're excited about. The thing I'm excited about, because I'm going to skip the thing because we just talked about that, is our next upcoming show once we finish Dungeon World. We are in May, starting on April 14th. That's a Tuesday at 7 p.m. We are going to start playing Savage Worlds Adventure Edition, or Suede. And we're going to be playing kind of a 1930s supernatural investigation type game. And I'm going to be running that for us every other Tuesday night.
I have an important question.
Yes.
Will it be pulp?
Oh my God, it is going to be so pulp. Guys, you guys are
Can we give
so
Gidget a 10-minute
confused.
soapbox?
I know, right? You guys are so confused by pulp, but trust me, by the time we finish with our supernatural investigation program, or SIP, you will be very clear.
Stop doing that, Gidget.
On what?
Suede, sip, sap, pulp, pap.
Yeah.
Pip.
Pulp is
Nip.
not an acronym. Pulp is a word.
Oh yeah,
It
that's
could
true.
be.
And
Yeah, it could
Suede
be.
is not our acronym. It is the
Savage
Inc.
Worlds.
Yeah,
yes.
Savage Worlds named themselves
Named
that.
that.
It should be called Swad. So
It's
Well, it's edition, right?
yeah. Should just be
Suede Adventure.
what? Savage World Adventure.
Edition.
What the hell's the D?
Edition.
What?
I didn't
Is it-
make this up, man. This is not my fault.
I'm confused.
Anyway, so that's what I'm very
Let's
excited
move
about.
on.
Starting in May on May 14th at 7 p.m. That is a Tuesday evening. We will be starting up our new campaign here on Pixel Scandal. It'll be our next Paper Scandal.
Paper sandal.
Paper Scandal campaign that we're going to be doing every other Tuesday night. So that's the thing I'm excited about.
Oh, that's the other thing to be extra clear on. We're moving from our normally scheduled time of way too goddamn early in the morning Saturdays to every other Thursday evening.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I thought
Tuesday.
We're going with Tuesdays.
Okay, Tuesdays.
At 7 p.m.?
At 7
7
p.m.
p.m. Pacific
every other
Standard
Tuesday starting May 14th. We will be playing Suede, and we will be playing Supernatural Investigation Program, or SIP.
I'm definitely gonna roleplay as one of the Winchesters.
And we will be doing character gen in the next couple of weeks, and we will probably put it up on our Patreon page. So if you want to go and back our Patreon page, we'll definitely do character gen, and you guys will be able to go and watch that and get all the very funny character gen shit that comes out from these guys.
Cool.
Yeah, do the thing.
Yep.
Join our Patreon.
Yeah.
Support us.
So cool. So the next thing I think everyone is excited about here.
Game of Thrones
Game of
season
Thrones.
premiere.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which is funny because I didn't even know about it until yesterday.
Really?
You know, I had the it's coming sometime in April. Yeah. And then I accidentally stumbled upon something that mentioned it. It was like, oh, it's tomorrow. Okay.
That's funny. Okay, fine. I'm really excited about Game of Thrones tonight.
Oh no, by all means. Even ignoring everything else, that it's a good show and everything. It's so nice to actually see something end when it wants to.
Yeah.
Especially after 8 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at you, Supernatural.
Shut up. You shut your whore mouth.
They're ending too. They're doing the same thing. They're doing
I mean, it's about 3 seasons too late.
I think it's 32. They're on, what is this, 32nd season?
Of Supernatural?
Yeah, they've been running for 32 years. Actually, Sam and Dean Winchester started when they were 12. So, fun fact for you Supernatural fans.
Enjoy these inaccurate facts by Handor.
All right, Kurt.
All right. I watched the new Star Wars trailer today, and you know what? It looks pretty fucking good. It got me.
Yeah?
It got me.
It got me.
Yeah.
It did get me. It got me in the feels when Rey hugged Leia.
Oh yeah. That the whole things aren't always gone, or whatever the line is, and then they have that laugh at the end, and you're like, oh, okay, the GM couldn't let go of their BBG, so they brought him back.
The big bad guy.
I have not seen it. I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
My confusion is the title.
Me too.
What's the title? I know nothing about it.
You know nothing.
Skywalker.
You know nothing.
Rise of the Skywalkers?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Pretty sure.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Rise of the Skywalker, which is an interesting title considering
Luke is
like
gone and
a ghost.
Are they gonna pull a no? She really was a Skywalker all this time like thing on us? Is that what's gonna happen?
Maybe. Of course.
It was Earth all along.
Yeah. Or actually, Kylo's technically a. Oh no, he's not a Skywalker. He's a
Solo.
He's a Solo, but
he's still of the lineage, though.
Yeah. So it could be that.
Yeah. Well,
but
cool.
I think all of the video has frozen.
Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Yeah, most of the videos have definitely frozen.
Yeah.
So
Discord has been getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it has. Hey, there we go. And now it's exploded.
Oh.
Awesome.
Oh.
Is it?
We lost Oreztes.
Is it possible that this could have been a foreseeable problem since Discord added the ability to download and buy games through their service?
I doubt it.
Well, you could have. Yeah.
I think Discord's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
And they don't have the infrastructure.
Their service.
Yeah. Well, moving right along.
They'll get it. I'm sure all the Nitro subscribers. I am talking, Gigett.
I know, but listening to us talk and bitch about Discord is not interesting.
I know, but I was making an attempt at getting sponsored by Discord. By the way, when we like to stream a
nothing
service,
that says sponsor these guys like your service is shit. Fix it.
No, I was saying I'm sure that they are taking all the money that they receive through the Nitro, so on and so forth subscriptions, and all the great things that they're doing. And by the way, when we choose a broadcasting service that we like to use through Twitch or whatever else, we like to use Discord. That's Pixel Scandal, bing, right there. So there you go.
There you go.
Next
Cool.
episode
So
will be
let's
streamed on Zoom.
move.
In defense of Handor, though, that was far more interesting than our actual spotlight topic. So.
I don't think that is true.
Well, let's move into what we've played recently. Endo and Handor, what have you guys been playing?
Well, I wouldn't. Endo's been playing. I've just been. What do you call it when you're like?
You went to
You're just-
school.
A training dummy.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a training dummy.
And Endo's giving you free lessons on.
And what is it that
On
you're playing?
how to lay down like a good dog.
We have been playing Mortal Kombat.
Oh, good, because that was getting real sexual.
Yeah.
Mortal
That's
Kombat
one.
11 is coming out on the 23rd, and so Matt, Handor, and I loaded up MK10 to kind of knock the rust off a little bit before that gets released.
Nice.
And he has been doing much better. It's fighting games are like that. You kind of like it takes a while to get comfortable, learn the moves, learn the combos, know when to do them, when not to do them, learn the matchups, etc. That's all part of a fighting game. But in Handor's defense, when we first started, I was absolutely annihilating him. And after like 3 hours of playing, he was 3 or 4 times better. I'm still crushing him, but he's just 3 or 4 times better.
It's not perfect every time.
He's now an intermediate training dummy.
No, I mean he's getting better as time goes on. I mean that's how it works.
Yeah, and the reason I know that I've gotten a lot better is because I went from like really struggling to find my way around the controller to figuring out certain moves and then getting comfortable doing the moves, and then every single time I figure out a counter to whatever it is he does, or I get to the point where I'm like, crushing him, he just is like, oh, this is where I whoop his ass, and I make sure he doesn't. He doesn't let me finish him ever. And so it's amazing that he's able to do that, and also frustrating, but also I was able to scrimmage a little bit with a friend of ours, and it made me feel like I was in Endo's position playing me. So that was a big, like, made me feel like I had been taught well, because I shut his ass down pretty hard.
How's the netcode nowadays? Because
so good.
Yeah, last fighting game I did was Street Fighter V, and it was not great. No, Street Fighter 4, and it was not great in those days.
Yeah. Here's 60 frames. I have no net drops whatsoever. Hitboxes are perfect, no lag, perfect connectivity. It is LAN play. And I know it's LAN play because I had a buddy come over on Saturday morning, and we played for about a few hours, and the netcode with Handor and I playing online versus my buddy and I playing on LAN was exactly the same. It felt no different. I didn't have to accommodate or anything.
That's awesome.
It's gorgeous.
Nice.
Super
And let's hope Mortal
Henry,
Kombat
you bought
11
a
is
stick, right?
It's on the way. Yes,
Mortal Kombat was never my fighting game. I mean, not that I'm excellent at any fighting games, but I always was more of a Street Fighter guy than Mortal Kombat.
Likewise.
I played all of them.
It was definitely Mortal Kombat for me.
It was definitely because of a bad experience at like the douchey kid's house, who was really good at Mortal Kombat and just wanted to like dunk on me and talk shit the whole time, and like I never went back. And I was like, Mortal Kombat's for assholes.
You sure that wasn't Endo?
I was going to say,
I
you and
moved
Endo
around
were
a lot.
friends as
I don't
teenagers.
think I ever lived out out in where were you?
I used to play Guilty Gear a lot
Sticks.
when I was younger.
I'm gonna have to have my friends watch this episode because I'll have to ask them if I was that douchey kid. Because
Oh yeah.
You know what, though? The hands
you're
down
the
the
douchey
best,
kid of this group.
yeah, hands
Ah,
down the
fucker.
best fighting game ever created though was Power Stone.
Oh man,
But,
GoldenEye.
Power Stone? What's Power Stone?
It's like the best fighting game ever made on Dreamcast.
the one that no one's ever heard of.
I've never played that one.
It's a 4-player arena like side scroller.
Oh.
Soul Calibur was pretty good on
It is
Dreamcast.
really fun.
Yeah. So rather than just list fighting games, I'm going to move to our next what we've played recently. And
Friday
guys,
night, we got together and did something super fun.
we played
Bunny,
Gloomhaven.
got to pet the bun.
Yeah, and Bun Pets.
And Bun Pets. Yeah.
For those that don't know, Gigett and I got a bunny last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
I
that's
love
right. I
I love that
forgot
you
about
say
that.
Gidget and I. It's my bunny.
Okay, but we got it together,
Okay.
and his name is Neil Patrick Carrots,
I named him.
and he is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Kurt is allowed to say we because he had to be the one to drive home while Gidget held the bun.
That
Okay,
is
that is true.
Can we not have Neil Patrick Carrots on the show?
Well, we could, but then I would probably
has to
need
sign a
like a
release.
studio assistant, because I don't know if he'd want to hang out.
I don't think
for
you
the
could
full
sit
hour.
still for an hour.
Yeah, but if you want to see pictures, you can go to Instagram.com/Neil Patrick Carrots, and see pictures of Neil.
Yeah, he has his own
You're
Instagram
welcome.
account.
I just softballed you the best freaking pitch ever for you.
I'm
to knock
sure
that
he
out
will
of the
be a
park.
reoccurring guest on the show, though. But yes, we did Bun Pets, and we played Gloomhaven again, which was super
I will say,
awesome sauce.
if you're on the fence or you've played a Gloomhaven a couple times and the admin is frustrating or whatnot, get a
Box
organizer.
of Witchcraft.
A box of Witchcraft. Even if you go and simply some like tackle boxes to sort everything,
Mm-hmm.
it literally cuts the admin down to about a third.
Yeah.
You know what?
And that app we've been using.
Yeah.
I'm gonna and what you should do this too, Nightson. We'll both throw in links to because I got one too from my Gloomhaven, and then we can just throw that link into the show.
Witchcraft.
Sure.
Yeah, the Witchcraft link, so that people can, whoever's got, Gloomhaven, they can look at that.
Seriously, it's like magic how like all these little boxes fit in there to keep everything organized. It's pretty amazing.
It does add about 15 pounds to the box, though.
That is very true.
You might want a dolly.
Well, so what you have to understand though is when you're getting, and I assume yours is the same way, Nightson. When I got mine, it was a high quality product. So it's a ton of this. I don't know what kind of wood it is exactly. It's some sort of mixed wood. Medium density, high density. Okay, thank you. But it's
and they're like puzzle pieces.
Yeah, and you put and it's just really high quality stuff, laser cut, and so when you start putting that stuff together,
it's
okay,
called
so,
MDF.
Oh, okay.
Or it could be HDF, or it could be LDF, it could be any of those medium density, high density fiber boards. But anyways,
LFG.
Yep, that too.
HDPE.
So what happened when we were putting it together was we were thinking to ourselves, "There's no way all this shit is going to fit into these compartments." But you do it, you put it in there, and you get it in the box, and you're like, "Well, damn, that shit is required."
Do you and your friends typically play your Gloomhaven at your house though?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Nightson has to transport his box from his house to our house every time we play, and so that fucker is heavy.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's like 48 pounds or something like that.
It's crazy. But Kurt kind of mentioned it in passing, but the app is definitely a must-have.
Yes.
Like it definitely changed the game quite a bit to be able to just add all the different bad guys onto the app, and it organizes everything and draws their initiative, and it's pretty
it cuts
awesome.
your table space down required by half as well. Like the game is big as is, and then if anything you can save is a good thing. So
Yeah, for sure.
Was yours Broken Token?
no, I went with the Go 7 Gaming. I really liked that they had individual boxes for all the classes.
Well, so does the Broken Token one.
I don't know. I looked at a bunch of them.
Or maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. I think I lied.
But we'll put both
just have
links
the creatures.
in the show docs so that if you have Gloomhaven and you're trying to figure out how to make it a little more organized and a little easier to find everything, and you're not. We had baggies that all the bad guys were in originally, and anytime we needed to like go through and pick out everything, we'd have to like dig through the bags, and now it's all just pretty and in trays, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
Anyway.
I'm sure Nightson's probably going to be a much more affordable option. I just went with
No, mine was the more pricey option. I went with the expensive because I liked the quality, the wood and everything.
Well, I just posted mine in there. Mine was $100.
Oh, so was mine. So it was actually the same.
there you go.
Oh, okay, cool.
Well, cool. We will get those posted in the show doc.
Nice.
But Kurt went to the Indie RPG meetup at our friendly local gaming store last night.
Yeah.
What did you play, Kurt?
If you're a Central Valley folk, definitely go check out once a month at Crazy Squirrel Game Store. There is a indie RPG meetup, and I think last night we had like 12 people. So we actually split up into 3 games, which was kind of cool. But I got to play. I actually brought some games to run, and then someone had brought Mobile Frame Zero Firebrands by D. Vincent Baker, which you can find the PDF on Drive-Thru RPG. But I'll post a link in our show notes for that. But yeah, it's a GM-less game where you have these booklets and you sort of go through and play mini games. And so you one of the mini games is solitaire, where it's just you pick a question and then it has 3 possible outcomes and you choose one of the outcomes, and that's sort of how you build your character. And then you go through the book and everybody just takes turns picking these mini games, like a sword fight or a dance, stuff like that.
Nice.
And then when you pick a game, you pick another player to play in that game with you, and then you go through and you sort of take turns shooting questions at each other from these prepared list of questions or challenges or whatever. But there's almost never dice. It's just if there is ever if you're not sure who would win this, flip a coin kind of stuff. So you go through and you do that, and then all of the games have sort of ending questions or ending things that sort of trigger, and basically you just kind of find out who these people are. But it does have a defined setting. It's a mecha RPG, so you're mech pilots, and it's sort of anime-esque, where you're young mech pilots who are going out and fighting for your factions and all this stuff, and then you go back to try to date each other, I guess. But the group of dudes that I played with weren't super into the relationship aspect of it, so we all kind of played old mech pilots. I was the grumpy old mechanic guy, and somebody was the super old aristocrat, and someone else was we were all veteran pilots, and none of us were into the relationship stuff. But there's still, the mini games are sort of skewed that way. One of them is steal a moment, where you basically have that there's that moment where 2 characters are locked in a closet or whatever, right? And you get flirty.
7 minutes of heaven.
Kind of, right? But
I was thinking more like R. Kelly.
No, not like that. Not like this. And
too soon?
But the way it worked for us is we use that one for an interrogation scene, right? Where it was I touch your wrist, but it's to squeeze the handcuffs tighter and threaten you and that kind of stuff. So it was fun.
Sexually threatening.
Yeah, it was threatening. It was definitely threatening. Some stuff got a little suggestive. The sword fight is very homoerotic supertones. It's not subtext. It is supertext. There's
Gotcha.
one of the things is we circle each other, our swords tip to tip. So yeah. But check it out. It's definitely one of those games where if you were trying to write something that deals with sort of question and answer type mechanics, it's something that a lot of people refer back to say, oh, have you read this? That might be useful when you're writing this other thing. So, but I'm glad I finally got to play it. It was a good time.
Nice.
Oreztes seems like he's real interested in it. I just like to ask him what he thinks.
I think Oreztes did some downers today.
Yeah, he did.
No, this is my normal attitude when I don't have 5 hours and a rock star.
Oh.
You're the only
This is
dude
you
I've
minus
ever seen.
caffeine.
Yeah.
You're the only dude I've ever seen with a resting bitch face.
That is not true. I've seen.
That's not even remotely true.
Yeah, I don't know anyone. Well, I guess I don't have many friends though. So
Suicide by
was
words.
Great. Yep. Well, you know what? That is a great segue into our spotlight topic. That Endo is going to kind of take the lead on here, but we're going to talk about esports. So yeah, take it away, Endo.
Yeah, so for a topic, something we haven't really touched on, but is, at least it has been, and it appears to still be to a pretty big degree, a growing thing within gaming, and that's esports. Professional gaming. The way this whole esports thing started was, I looked it up, and apparently it all began with StarCraft. The Korean Ministry of Culture and Sports decided that everyone in their country was playing StarCraft, so they said, hey, why are we not monetizing this? So they did. They decided to open up a league for StarCraft professional gaming, and then suddenly It developed into a potential career for people. There were sponsorships, and then
Parades.
What's that?
Parades.
Probably. Parades.
Oh yeah, parades. Like it is because understand, like in Korea, not that I'm aware of. Somebody else will have to tell me if we're wrong, but I don't think physical sports are really a big thing in Korea and Japan. I know they have baseball in Japan, and that's a big thing there, but it's not nearly as big of a thing as it is, say, here in America. And so this was kind of filled that gap for them.
America.
It became as big a thing as football was to America. StarCraft, professional esports, became for Korea, and still is to this day. Esports is still, I think, their most is still quote unquote their national sport. And then after that, it kind of developed into a bigger thing as more competitive type games came out. We saw more and more emphasis on the quote unquote professional gamers and having leagues. The next one that I remember was there was esports with games like Quake. To a degree, I don't know how you classify it, but I played Quake professionally. I played in the ID10 tournament and the Tool 4 tournament in Texas. I had a clan. I practiced, like, I'm not even going to say I'm like, it's embarrassing, but won a little money. Placed pretty well, and then got a job and stopped. But and then there's also like Counter-Strike, and then of course it became really, really big with fighting games. So the topic today is really to say, like, it's been a while, but do we feel like esports is starting to die off, or is it growing? Is it a trend, or is this to stay? And do we see this potentially maybe even seeding physical sports someday, and becoming as big, or if not bigger, given the fact that I think we all can agree more kids are playing video games nowadays than they are playing physical sport. So do we see that happening?
I think my first actual oh my God, this is a thing, like people can play esports and this is like their profession, wasn't until we were watching like league matches, and I was like, holy crap, like people do this. I kind of was late to the party here, even knowing that esports was a thing.
Yeah, like I grew up, and for anyone who's been gaming for a long time probably knows the name Fatality, who was like the first American professional gamer that had any renown. But nowadays,
nowadays, once I'll tell the story after that.
Nowadays, it's moved on to. It's very frequent to see lots and lots of people who have made this, if not a permanent career, at least a short-term profession.
Mm-hmm.
One of my biggest, somebody that I kind of fell in love with watching was, and I discovered, obviously I knew esports prior to this, but the guys that put on PAX and what is it? What else do they do? I can't remember.
Arcade?
But yeah, Penny Arcade, any of that stuff. I believe they had the hand in the. It only ran for a couple of years, but they had a hand in that show where they competed. I think the first year they ran it, Justin Wong was on it, and a few other guys. And each one of the guys was real specialized in what they were a pro at. You had the fighters, you had the guitar heroes, you had the racers, you had, and so they all stayed in the house. It was a reality show. They all lived in the house, and then each day they competed. And I think this went on for months. And Kat Gunn, a female professional gamer, ended up winning the whole thing. And I was like, I love you. And
consistent on brand for you.
Yeah, on brand.
Yeah. To this day, she holds several records in multiple genres of games. Dance Dance Revolution was one of them. And she's
very good in Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six, yeah. She's like real good at shooters. And I want to say she makes, especially doing like the side stuff with like sponsoring stuff and getting involved in the marketing side of that world. I believe she's making six figures the last I heard.
She started off, I don't know if you know this, Handor, but where she actually started off was she was a Dead or Alive 4 player. That was her first professional game. She played in there was a actual Dead or Alive 4 Girl League, and there were several like crazy good players, and she had a sick rivalry against another girl, and they were amazing matches to watch. You can find them on YouTube, but she was dope as hell at that.
Yeah.
And
aggressive as hell. It was amazing to watch.
The name of the show.
Oh, the name of that show was WCG Ultimate Gamer, or World Cyber Games Ultimate Gamer.
I have to tell a racist but funny thing about that game. Justin Wong was a competitor, as he said, who is one of the quote unquote best fighting game players in the entire world, and he was dominating everything. Like, he was just surefire win until they got to the driving game.
Did you see Kirk prepping his X card over there? He was like ready to.
Here's the thing: Justin Wong never drove in his life. He
actually doesn't have a license.
He doesn't have a license. So
they got to a Forza game, and he just was hitting like every cone. He couldn't drive at all. Poor guy. Aww. He was a surefire winner, but they hit the driving game, and the Asian guy got eliminated.
So speaking of it, like things being on TV, though, I think that is what has made e-gaming more of a like common thing. I mean, obviously all the kids today watch YouTube videos and not TV as much, but kind of about the time our kid was starting to get out of the like Disney XD watching that and nothing else age, they started having like actual shows that were esports on Disney Channel, like on Disney XD. They have several hours throughout the day that is just esports, and they don't have any like regular physical sports on there. It's that, but in the last couple of years, they're actually showing esports type stuff on like the channel that all of our kids are growing up watching now. They're watching esports. It's not something you have to go find.
They have to have the pulse on what children want to see, and
right.
I think Disney, that's their job, and they have to know that, hey, things are migrating over, and kids are watching the Fortnites, and they're watching the Minecraft. Like, that's where we should focus.
The YouTube.
Yeah, but I guarantee if it's on Disney XD, they had chat muted, because gamers are some of the most rancid and toxic people I've ever met.
Well, I mean, it's Disney XD sponsored.
Have you listened to football people and football enthusiasts talk about?
I don't know those kind of people.
So something to support the claim that it is not just a trend and that it is growing is I was going to mention within the last, I think it was like maybe 2 years ago, just as recently as 2 years ago, esports actually ended up gaining their own publication or cable channel. It is a dedicated cable channel.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Europe has one for sure.
ESPN 8.
I was going to say ESPN
the Ocho.
Well, no, I believe ESPN 8 was streaming it for a while. Was showing esports for a while.
I will say ESPN. I think it was ESPN 2 shows Evo the final couple hours of Evo every year. And they've been doing that for like 5 years now.
Just FYI, right now they are doing the Rocket League. What do they call it? It's not the championships, but it's the lead up to the
semifinals.
Preliminaries.
Preliminaries, I think, is what it is.
See, Rocket League is a super good game for esports because it's very easy for someone who's has never played the game, doesn't know what's going on, to at least be able to understand what's happening.
Yeah. It translates really well to watching, unlike League of Legends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to things like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which
is just colors everywhere.
It's just a complete mess, even for people.
You start seeing algebra in the you start seeing watermarks in the screen.
What's hilarious about the comparison of League of Legends? I enjoy both League of Legends and Rocket League. But what's funny is you do get to enjoy Rocket League not having any knowledge.
Yeah.
But
it's obvious what's going on. They're controlling a car is hitting a ball goes in goal. Like, that's it. There's an enormous amount of depth to controlling that.
Yes,
car
that's what I was going to say.
Viewer doesn't understand.
Yeah.
But all you need to understand is car hit ball go in goal, and then you see the cool shit they do making
Right.
Yeah,
Where
so
with, like you said, like where thing with League, where you're watching these things go down the lane and then something jumps over and everybody on screen goes, oh, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Why was that so cool? Like, I think it's hard. If you've played the game, you understand, but just as somebody watching it, it's not as easy as car hit ball go goal.
The gate of entry is a lot easier for a viewer.
Yeah.
I think the
It
problem
took
League
9 minutes
has-
to knock down that tower. Why is everybody cheering?
Right. Right.
Yeah, I think the problem League has for viewers that aren't familiar with the mechanics is it's really slow, like not a lot's happening for a long time, and then it's just like flashes of color moving around really, because like the spell effects can get pretty big,
Right.
and like overlap, and so it's really hard to tell what's going on if you're not familiar with what all those spell effects look like. And do.
You would have
Right.
had to have at least played League at a mid-tier level to understand what goes on in League.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked that at least the major events that they don't do like a primer at the beginning of the stream. Like some kind of like 5-minute primer. Like, here's the goal. Everyone has to knock down these tires. The end goal is to get the Nexus. Like, there are 3 lanes and a jungler. Like, I feel like they should spend 5 minutes before every single stream just kind of priming people if it's the first time watching. It's a very low amount of time it would take to at least get that gate of entry a little thinner. And
So I think that's the thing about like the Disney Channel esports is they do that. They spend like a little bit of time before they go into showing the kids like look, now they're playing. They talk about like this is the game and this is the objective and this is the players, and you know they do whatever, like basically showing the kids what the game is before they actually show them people playing it, which is kind of neat because then kids can be like, oh, I want to play that game, and then go, beg their parents to go buy it for them.
Well, and I mean, it's
This is
about-
Timo. He has 98 different skins. Go get your credit card.
I totally
all of
I totally foresee professionals in the esports being presented in the US eventually, and maybe within the next 10, 15 years or so, being presented the same way we see our NFL and NBA stars.
that's going to bring us to our next topic. Kurt, you had something, though.
Oh, so I was just going to say, I do think that the commentators do a pretty good job. It's been a while since I've watched LCS, but they do a pretty good job of talking about why they made choices that they did while playing, which I think can help to bring people into what's going on without talking down to them, which I think a lot of times when you just do like the dummy primer at the beginning, it can feel like you're talking down to the audience.
Right.
And as long as the commentators are doing a good job of explaining why something was exciting when it is, or why something was a good choice, or what else they could have tried, I think that's going to be enough to get.
But my favorite thing is when they talk shit and they're like, "Oh, that was a dumb move," and explain why it was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, last time I watched LCS,
I like to talk shit.
They were still like not super professional.
I don't think they ever need to get fully professional. I think
No.
that is
They
not-
have, though.
They have
The LCS has gotten a little big for its britches. It's all business now. It's all very professional. They're trying to be the ESPN of esports, and unfortunately, it makes it a little less interesting.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
But even still, like announcing or commentating has come a long way in the last 10 years, and you can tell the difference between the people who have been doing it a while, who have a grasp on it, and those who are kind of newer, because they do those things. They do yeah, that's really exciting, and here's why, or this is why this is an interesting strategy, or this is why this is off kilter, or and making that aware to the comment, because even the casual player of League won't understand why you're swapping your doing 2-1 top instead of 2-1 bottom.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think Gigett is 100% right, though. I think, and Curtis too, if you watch the entire length of an entire match, I think a new person would kind of get a grasp of what's going on. But Gigett's right. If you're just watching the first 10 minutes, the early laning phase, like there's not much there, and you're confused and you don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So you got to find a way to get them past the laning phase when it starts getting exciting and the kills start happening. Right?
And this is for League. League gives you that opportunity to explain. If we're talking fighting games, God help you.
It's hype from start to finish. Like it's never ending, and
you
that's
have
why
the 10
I love the
seconds in
fighting
between
game.
matches to talk about why something was interesting or whatnot.
Right.
They'll do recaps though in like Evo and stuff, which is kind
You have to do recaps in League too now.
yeah.
pretty constant. Yeah. So the next topic is, and Handor kind of talked about it, is the business end of esports. Because let's be honest, the reason you have esports is because there's money to be made.
Money.
Right? Advertisements, sponsorships, marketing, and promotion. So Handor, since you brought it up, do you see esports becoming like? Do you think that we're going to see a Bjergsen or a Justin Wong on a cereal box one day?
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely think that we will. And the reason I believe those things are because more and more I'm starting to see in avenues of the early days of even sports, where they started getting their money was you had big companies like Apple or Microsoft or whoever else pouring money into that sport, right? And saying, we want to sponsor you. Mm-hmm. And with that money, they're able to, build stadiums, erect, whatever else. And that brings revenue. That brings fans. That brings all those things. And I do foresee that coming.
I have a very close friend who works as the basically everything guy for the Blizzard arena in Los Angeles. He's in charge of the pyro and the set building and everything. And I mean, when you hear him talk about it, it's getting to that point where it feels like working at a big football stadium or an arena that doesn't do esports, because he's talking about like, oh, this really important person X is coming in, and they require us to have they have a writer, right? The writer list of all the things that have to be in their dressing room or whatever that's celebrities. Insane. And esports people are showing up with writers now where it's like, these are the things I need to have in my green room before I go out to play sports or whatever, or this team needs to have these things, and he's like, it feels like working with professional sports ball people. And it's esports.
Athletes.
Yeah, and I mean, Blizzard has their own arena that they do all of their stuff from in LA. So yeah, it's definitely becoming that big business esports.
So then why haven't you got us tickets to BlizzCon yet?
So he has offered tickets to BlizzCon, but he doesn't offer enough tickets for all of us to go, and it just doesn't seem fair that I get to go and no one else does.
How many tickets are we talking here?
One, it sounds like. Yep.
Oh.
And I just feel like it's not fair if I go by myself. So
I think we should YouTube how to use one BlizzCon ticket to get in 6 people into BlizzCon.
So
yeah.
I did think of the cereal. I did think of what the cereal would be called for a for an esports team.
Oh,
it is KDA
Kellogg's.
Ratios.
Oh, there you
go.
Wait, how do I mute somebody? There we go. So talking about the business portion of it, didn't Blizzard recently just cut esport funding for like Heroes of the Storm and?
No. They did kill funding
Heroes
for
of
it.
the
They
Storm
closed it
altogether.
down.
Yeah.
They closed. Okay, so then.
but that's a different. That's not because of esports. That's not why they shut down that.
That's because nobody was caring about watching or playing Heroes of the Storm at an amount that was worthwhile them investing in.
Right.
That was a business choice.
Yeah.
I think they made. I mean, speaking.
They
of
also
Heroes of the
cut
Storm,
half their staff in general right after that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We had some friends lose their jobs because of it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Dun dun dun.
But I mean, that's not to say that esports isn't pulling in a ton of money, because I think 2019 is projected to be the largest year for investments for what are they called, VPs, investing in it's not VP, what's the it doesn't matter. It's projected to make more money this year than previous years.
Well, the thing is, kids aren't watching TV anymore.
Nope.
So why advertise on TV? Why not put your marketing dollars advertising to your Twitch streamers or your esport players?
VC, venture capital. Sorry.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point, Nightson. I mean, our teenager has been sick all weekend, and when we were sick, when we were kids, you would lay in bed and you would watch movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like you would just lay there and be sick and watch movies. Our son cartoons, right? We would watch shows. Our son has been laying there watching YouTube for 3 days. I think he's watched one movie in that entire time. 3 days straight of being sick, laying in bed watching YouTube, and by choice.
Consuming content.
Consuming content that other people created. Exactly. And that's the typical young person media right now is the YouTubes.
We're streaming on Twitch right now.
Yeah.
And this will go on YouTube, and we're talking about gaming.
Right.
We're part of
where
that.
I consume probably 50% of the stuff that I watch is through like YouTube or some sort of stream service.
That sucks. I feel so bad for him because when my back went out and I was stuck in bed for like 6 months doing nothing but watching YouTube, it gets boring really quick.
Yeah.
It's been 5 months since I've been better, and I'm barely getting my recommended videos back to interesting stuff.
Yeah, yesterday in the evening, he kind of wandered out and he was like, I'm so bored. It's like, yeah, you've consumed all your regular YouTube watching channels and now you're out of the regular watch. And
I can recommend some of the weirder parts of YouTube.
No, stay away from that. I've got some videos or some channels to recommend, which is one, Vertasium, where he would learn a shitload. And then there's another guy that is amazing that does a whole thing on RC helicopters and how actual helicopters.
Well,
anyways, trying to get back
to I'm sorry. You fucking nerds don't science and shit. Fuck you.
No,
okay,
I brought up YouTube though
is awesome.
because of the way kids are consuming media today, though. And so the gaming, the esports stuff is a big business. They have figured out that this is going to make them money, and in order to make more money, they have to basically entice good players to want to come play for them and play under their branding, and in turn, be walking advertisement for whatever they're trying to advertise.
Yeah, I was gonna say Intel too. I know they pumped a lot of money into them too.
My problem is that esports are 99% PvP games, and I hate them all. My only interest in esports comes when a new raid tier comes out in World of Warcraft, and it's like Race for World First. That's when I care.
You do understand what sport means, right?
I hate sports. I don't like sports at all either. I don't like regular sports
there's plenty of channels on Twitch with people playing solo player games.
I watch those.
Games. They're just not a sport.
Yeah, I know.
You're such a strange human, Oreztes.
So moving in away from the business aspect of it and more to the personal, the people playing the game. What do we think this is going to look like for? I mean, obviously it's going to be the younger generation behind us coming up and doing this, but what is that profession and college and career going to look like for these kids?
I can't tell you what it's going to look like. I can tell you what it sounds like, and it sounds a lot like a barking dog.
Yeah, can we get that dog?
It's Walter.
I think one of the big things that we're kind of seeing now, and I think it's going to be an issue in 10 years, is the longevity of a esports player is much shorter than most other professional sports, with the exception of, say, football.
Right.
That is until we get to the point where we have doctors who can come in and like consistently pressure young kids to continue to play, well past their prime.
We'll just give you these shots in your wrist.
Can we just pump steroids in your knuckles?
Yeah, in your knuckles, and then like by then we'll have some drug that allows you to operate at such higher level, and response times will be renewed to a 20-year-old.
All right. Well, if we ignore the horrible seedier sides of sports, most esports gamers are out within about 10 years, if not shorter.
It's true.
And most of them from that point move on to shoutcasting or light streaming on their just a streaming income, or content creation,
right,
or even coaching. But there's a finite amount of those seats,
right?
And so a lot of the first gen or second gen are now the ones taking up those seats. You've got Day 9, who was a very early StarCraft player, has gone to the content creation, shoutcasting, all that. There can't be a million of these people out on YouTube and still all of them making money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, is that way? I mean, with regular sports, they get paid that ridiculous amount of money because there is a finite amount of years that they can play, and then they kind of, if they manage their money well, are supposed to basically live off of what they made during that 10 years they were doing sports. Do you think that's what we're going to start seeing for esports? Like these companies and promoters are going to be paying that astronomical kind of money to basically support these kids into their rest of their lives?
So I mean, a lot of pro sports players get their money from contracts. Like they get paid an amount of money regardless of how well their team performs.
Right.
Esports, you win a prize pool. So the amount of your income depends on how you perform.
Wins or losses. Yeah. I want to say real quick, Gigett, something that I want to make sure that we're clear about this. The longevity of being able to play in football, baseball, hockey, all these other sports, even in the UFC, there are fighters that are fighting into their 40s. Okay,
True,
I would call
are
that the exception, not the rule. Though.
I would say those are the exceptions, not the rules. The rule is mid-30s
really.
for most sports ball players.
If you look
that's
at
not true at all.
most
That's not true at all.
physical sports, 90% of the populace is gone within a relatively short time. You're looking at a very small subset of the total.
No,
It's
most
usually
of the
because
NFL
of injury, though, that they have to stop
exactly.
playing.
Exactly. These guys that don't receive injuries, they're the majority of players in the NFL are in their 30s, mid 30s.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, they've typically you don't get into your professional career as a sports ball player until you're in your mid 20s because you played at college, high school ball, then college ball, and then now you get into, so it's like you're mid to late 20s and then you're in your 30s. It's still a 10 to 15 year career. And then
per the NFL Player Association, the average career length is 3.3 years.
Oh. Okay.
In the NFL?
The NFL claims it's 6, but either one is much less than 20.
So that's what I'm saying though. If
that's impossible.
But that's not. Average,
you're looking at the outliers.
You're talking about rosters like 30 or 40 players per team. There's like 30 teams.
You're muted.
There's like 30 teams in the NFL.
It's not crazy, man. There is a reality that younger people have a higher acuity, higher reaction time. They're physically more fit. As you get older, your body deteriorates, your brain deteriorates, and you
more
can't
susceptible
compete.
to injury.
Yeah, you're more susceptible to injury.
That's not what I'm arguing. That's not what I'm arguing.
We're not saying you're wrong. We're just saying that that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens, but that's not the commonality. You can't say that most people playing in the NFL are going to play into their 40s. That is 100% false.
So going back,
but I'm saying several of them.
Which is what he's saying. It's the exception. It's not the rule.
So kind of going back to the topic here with professional gaming, e-gaming. So, I mean, like I said,
it's even more exacerbated for e-gaming.
Right.
That's what I was trying to say
hold on one second. Finish, could you?
Oh, I was just going to say, like, do we think we're going to see the type of money that's thrown at like sports thrown at esports players?
Eventually, probably.
I think Oreztes is right. The money comes from the win, right? But I mean, in order to keep these players playing and not giving up and going and finding a career that's a little more stable, I feel like eventually corporations are going to have to get on board and start paying these people.
Well, you look at League. League is contract based as well. Like they get prize pools, but they have contracts.
Right.
And they have sponsors.
And sponsors and then streaming on top of it.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, if you think about like an Olympic athlete, like they only make money if they win at the Olympics. Otherwise, they're sponsored by someone to basically pay the bills until they do the Olympics. That's kind of what esports players would be, right?
I feel like they're entirely different fandoms. Like fans of professional sports are fans of teams. Fans of esports are fans of the players. Mm-hmm. People who are a fan of the team, it doesn't matter who's on the team. You're a fan of your team. You've been a lifelong fan of, Sports Ball Team X ever since you were little. Whoever's on it right now is regardless. If you're a fan of a player, the game that they're actually playing, who cares? Like, if you like the player, okay, great. If you like a game, yeah, you're going to have a favorite player for that game. but games don't last that long. Like even the most popular games, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, super popular, huge following. It's on its way out. Like, it's not super popular anymore. So if that's your favorite game, when that game comes and goes, say it's got like a 10-year lifespan, after 10 years, it's gone. If you are a huge fan of Justin Wong and he moves on from Street Fighter, or like Daigo, if you're a huge Daigo fan, Street Fighter, awesome. Street Fighter goes away and now he's playing, Mortal Kombat. If you hate Mortal Kombat, is your enjoyment of watching the player gonna carry on through to the next game if you hate that game?
Well, that's actually an interesting aspect, because
I don't think the players are ever going to get paid that much, because the games they're playing aren't going to draw that much attention. They're not. It's not the same game forever. You're gonna the amount
that
of
is a
fans
really interesting point.
The amount of fans
I
the
think
player is
that's-
going to have depends on the game they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. I think that's going to be true for certain games, but I think there's also going to be some games that do have that longevity. StarCraft is certainly one of those. I think Rocket League is potentially one of those. League of Legends is certainly one of those. Those games will never change.
that is actually but one thing you did bring up, which I think is an interesting aspect of this, is you are, because of the smaller group size, you are allowed a personal connection on individual players. Like, you don't get that in any other sport for the most part. Like, you might
Maybe
like
with
this one player and
QBs or
follow, like main players, but a single person versus a single person kind of thing. Boxing, and then when your
Tennis.
favorite boxer retires from boxing, does he go play tennis?
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that's true. The fact that the game
if you're a
changes
fan
really
of-
wrecks that.
Yeah,
If you're a fan of Michael Jordan or Bo Jackson, yes.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think they'll say that might not have been the best choice they ever made.
Yeah.
No, but the other point that Oreztes made.
One of those wasn't the best choice, but the other one, Bo Jackson went on to successfully
Yeah, Bo
he-
Jackson.
win rings in multiple.
He's
Sports.
the outlier. He's the exception.
But the other point that Oreztes made was that the sports that are sports ball games stick around forever, right? Football is football, baseball is baseball, and even though the teams change, the players change, that sport stays forever. In esports, the game that's being played is constantly changing, except for those very rare few like StarCraft and the like. Like, it's the idea of esports is the same, but the game that's being played is changing, and so you almost have to, I don't know, like Oreztes was saying, like, have a fandom of the player, not necessarily the game they're playing, because that game's going to be gone in 5 to 10 years when it's no longer a relevant game.
I think something else that esports is failing at is it doesn't have the tribalism that normal sports do. Like you said, you're a fan of the Dodgers or of the Niners. You're not a fan of a specific player, or you're not a fan of football, right? Even if you are, like, if football changed and suddenly the Niners were playing something else, would you follow that team?
I think it's a lot less of a degree, but I think that does exist to an extent.
Yeah, like,
there were a huge amount of TSM versus CLG fans where people were very attached to the CLG franchise or the TSM franchise, and players got changed around in those rosters quite constantly.
It wasn't
Fans were
until
still rabid.
It wasn't until TSM was vastly different that I kind of jumped ship from them. Like, until there was none of the original players, kind of thing. But even now, if I go and I'm inclined to watch like an Overwatch game or something like that, I'm inherently going to go, well, look at these teams. Oh, I recognize CLG. It's not the same players, but at least this is the same moniker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm
it's
familiar with this franchise.
yeah.
Let me just point out that this whole conversation is hinged upon whether or not investors are going to invest in those things, and I don't believe that investors would, with any, I don't know. They just wouldn't invest in those type of esports. The esports they're going to invest in are the ones that are going to have longevity, the ones that are going to have a mainstay in esports, whereas the other
Or at
sports
least
that
are
do
similar
have
to something else that's already out, so that it can bring over
your
its already
Hearth, your
established.
Hearthstone,
Yeah.
your maybe even Magic. I don't know. That's not an esport, but
Investors are going to invest wherever they feel like they can have a turnover in investment.
That is
Right.
Exactly.
Even if it's a short-term thing, it's not really relevant to an investor. As long as they know at least short-term they're going to make their windfall back make a windfall, they'll still invest in it.
It is an interesting point, though, that how esports is actually holding up older games that should have died off.
Right.
You could argue. League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
That game is so ancient. I don't even know what my account credentials are anymore.
Well, that's kind of, and let's be honest, that is a beautiful aspect of esports.
Mm-hmm.
The meta shift.
Yeah.
They add characters. The game changes. Football is football. It is football. Yeah, they change a few rules every couple of years, but football is football.
Oh, very
League of Legends
minor,
now
though.
versus League of Legends 5 years ago is not the same game at all.
Not even close.
No.
Characters get better, they get buffed, characters lose, so it's always fresh. Now, there's a counter problem with that. There was recently a video on YouTube posted by a pretty predominant player of the League of Legends competitive scene called Double Live. And he made a post kind of asking Riot Games to stop patching the game so much. A large part of their income is streaming. And they're changing the meta so significantly every month right now. Like, the game just changes and they have to relearn a meta, which means they have to practice and scrim so much. They have no opportunity to scrim or have any type of break. So they're being overworked and exhausted, and they don't get to stream anymore. And they're like, the gate of entry to the game is also so outrageously bad for a customer. So someone starts playing the game and they say, hey, this champion looks really cool. I'm going to start playing this champion. They invest a ton of time into mastering this one or two champion, and then 2 months later, they get hit with the nerf bat, and they're completely worthless now in the meta, and now all that time and effort they've learned that character is completely wasted. So he posted a really interesting video, and from a professional scene, it makes really good sense to me. That they're constantly having to evolve their strategy. If you're a football player or basketball player, sure, metas change. How you do certain strategies against certain teams will change. I'm not denouncing that there's no strategy in those games. Of course there is. But the meta of basketball, the meta of football will never change that
on a month-to-month basis.
Right. Yeah. The strategies might change, but the rules aren't changing on you.
I could even
for
see,
a viewer, that's amazing, perhaps. But for the professional scene, that's an enormous amount of work.
Yeah. It's why I left the game. Was the vector of change was too high. I couldn't keep up with the game anymore. I didn't have the time to relearn the game every month.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. For the professional, the meta changing every month, it's a big deal. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort for them to go and learn it. For the casual player, nobody cares. So I'm of the opinion that his argument, the gate of entry is the barrier for entry is too high for the casual player. I don't think that's a valid argument. I think if you're a casual player, you don't really care about the meta. You find a character that you like the way they look, you like their mechanics, their spells, and if you're casual, you're going to play that character regardless.
Yeah, you play Teemo, and you play Teemo, win or lose.
Teemo!
Yeah, like I play.
Playing advanced bots, anyways. Like who are we kidding?
I play Sona. I don't care if she's good or not. Extraction Master is always going to be my role.
Yeah.
So
what do you guys think is coming next? Is esports growing? Is it shrinking? How do you guys feel like esports is headed?
I have to say it's inevitably getting bigger.
Yeah, I think if we purely just, this is oversimplification, but if we simply look at the arenas that these games were played on a professional level 5 years ago versus now, it kind of speaks for itself. Someone mentioned Evolution before. Evolution's being played at like stadiums. Like, it's filling up stadiums, and that's just fighting games. Mm-hmm. League of Legends, they enrich their regionals. Oreztes and we went to PAX one year I think we went to the first year that they ever had regionals at Penny Arcade Expo, and we were there. We got to watch the actual top 8 teams for LCS that year. And
Oreztes brought me a Teemo hat.
Yeah, I got to elbow some girl in the head to catch this keyboard that I'm using right now that they threw off the stage because it was sponsored by Logitech.
But it was a pretty small...
Who throws keyboards into a crowd?
Logitech.
Logitech did. Yeah. I caught a mouse that I ended up selling to Handor.
Selling?
But it was a small room. I don't know, Oreztes. I would say it was probably about 600 seats, maybe.
It was packed full, however big the room was that they had it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but now it's like a $4,000 seat stadium.
It's Super Bowl.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
look at have you guys paid attention at all to the production that League of Legends has been putting out compared to production that they put out for advertisements for characters and so on and so forth? They made a music video.
Yeah.
That KDA video is good too.
It's so good.
They've made some metal albums too, which are actually really good.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They had Imagine Dragons write a song for him.
Yeah.
They did.
Years
They
ago.
have an amazing orchestral soundtrack on Spotify. That's
Well, they
legit.
started that a few years ago with Jinx, wasn't it? Was it Jinx?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Jinx was the first one that had
Yeah.
a full studio.
It was actually the punchy chick. Vi.
Oh yeah, Vi.
Vi, that's right. It was
Vi
Vi.
had
Yeah.
first.
And then Vi,
So
and
you-
then
And
Jinx.
that was an amazing song too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, and you'd be crazy to think that the developers and that team isn't sitting very comfortably. With to the point that they're willing to do really whatever they want with money.
Well, that's all marketing. Like that's
Well, my-
that's just
Yeah. I don't know if esports can continue to grow as much or as quickly as it has, simply because the fact that with professional sports, nobody owns the sport. You have a
Mhm.
team, you have owners of a team, but the sport itself is the sport. With
Right.
these games, companies own the games.
Mhm.
yeah.
So
Well,
the
do you argue that the
games-
NFL Association owns football?
I mean, that's not necessarily true though. I
I
mean,
mean,
look
I
at
feel like-
ESL.
okay, yeah, but
ESL is not the owner of the game, but they have professional tournament and leagues of the games.
yeah, but like StarCraft, Blizzard owns StarCraft. So what
Mhm.
happens if, for whatever reason, Blizzard goes under? StarCraft is gone.
Right.
Everything is
Well,
gone.
why is StarCraft gone?
Well, if Blizzard
I mean,
shuts down,
technically, you own.
Yeah, who's going to keep it running? Like how?
Well, it
can
just
you
won't
keep
get
What do you
updated,
mean?
but it'll still go through its life cycle.
I would argue
Yeah.
if there's still an esports scene
Mhm.
supporting a game, they're probably making enough money to
Keep it alive.
keep the doors open.
Yeah, but my thing is, the company
I-
owns the game, so
Right.
the
That's a
game
good point.
itself is at the mercy of the company.
that is true.
So for whatever reason, Riot tomorrow decides, man, I don't like League of Legends anymore. We're taking it down, taking it offline. What do? It's all gone.
Or they
That's
could
just
continue
not
to
going
change
to
the
happen.
game so crazily that
Yeah.
like they put in
It's-
changes that are unfriendly for some reason.
No,
Not-
I mean, yeah,
It's a business though.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to do that. If you're
No,
Yeah,
but
what
I
you're
do agree
talking
with the
about is
Oreztes. It's
just-
like an
No.
extra hand in the cookie jar kind of thing.
yeah. It's like it's not going to happen. Realistically, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But it could. It's
well,
It's
I will
a
say
possibility.
that it almost
Blizzard
happened
shut-
one time with Smash Brothers. Nintendo got on this high horse where they were like, "We don't want you streaming our game." Like, there's this
Yeah.
whole political thing where we don't want you guys streaming our game. It's our IP, and they were like fighting with Twitch over people streaming their game and competitive scene. And people were like, "Well, we might not be able to stream these games professionally anymore." And they finally like got them to snap to their senses and say, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, we're
Free
promoting your
advertising."
game."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Like-
Oreztes is right though. I mean, look at Hero of the Storm. It shut down, and all of the people that were esports players for Heroes of the Storm
Are out of business.
were just out of a job. I mean,
But
that's
the counter to that is that this is a very unique industry capable of pivoting when
right.
that kind of thing happens.
That is true.
All those Heroes of Storm players, most of their skill set translates into League.
right.
It does.
Or Dota.
And most of
Or
those
Dota
guys
or-
came.
yeah.
Unlike
A lot
if football went under, a football player couldn't go, well, I guess I'm going to go play basketball now. I mean, that's not,
yeah.
Yeah, if all of a sudden the people just stop caring about football, which actually trends have shown that it's the
Yeah.
user base on it is shrinking.
It's shrinking.
And it's
I
no
honestly-
longer sustainable, then these people who have spent their lives training, they're just very athletic people who can go play in the European League.
Right.
I honestly think that what Oreztes is mentioning is actually a strong suit of esports and not a weak point. Whereas with our national teams and so on and so forth, where there are people like, look, I'm from Michigan, okay? Our Detroit Tigers are shit, and we consistently sell and trade or sell, and make contracts with players and then trade them, so that they can go to another team and win fucking Cy Young awards with Verlander and Cabrera and all these other fucking guys. Okay.
Nobody knows what any of that
Whereas,
Sure.
okay, fine.
Some
Some
people
people are
do.
gonna know what the fuck I'm. Some
Yeah,
people are
no,
gonna know what the
it's-
fuck I'm talking
yeah.
about. And the money is the fucking corrupting agent
Mhm.
in that component. Whereas in esports, nobody fucking owns that shit. They can't corrupt it. They can't snatch it up, and they can't continue to pump out players just to make money.
Esports is still in a relative infancy.
They can.
Believe me, those things will absolutely
somebody will
happen.
figure out how to exploit it.
Right.
Those
What
things
I'm
will
trying
100% happen.
what I'm trying to say is, in the environment it's in right now, I believe what Oreztes is saying is, its downfall is actually, I think, it's freedom and its strong suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
I think
in the case of Hero of the Storm, I don't think there were enough people playing it or watching it to make it a reasonable thing for them to continue funding and paying contracts and people to.
It just still sucks for those handful of people that were out.
I think eventually it's going to turn into like a professional. How like I would go down to San Diego, and there'd be a Charger game happening while I was down there, and they'd be like, "Well, we didn't sell enough tickets, so we're just not going to show it on TV today because we didn't sell enough tickets. So now nobody gets to watch the game because there's not enough people here." And it's going to be like that. They're going to be like, "We didn't sell enough Twitch subscriptions to this event, so we're not going to stream it."
Right.
And then everybody's going to be upset.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anybody have any final thoughts on esports before we kind of wrap things up for tonight?
More co-op esports blocks, thank you.
Technically, League of Legends is a co-op esport.
No, it's not.
League of Legends, Rocket
team
League
versus team.
is
It's Hot Wheel versus Hot Wheel.
Hey, there's cooperation involved.
But it is a hot.
Just my cooperation versus your cooperation.
Let's all just cooperate, guys. All right, Kurt.
It's CVC.
You want to tell people where they can find us on the internet?
I sure do, Gigett. People can find us all over the internet. They can head to pixelscandal.com where they can find back episodes of this show. They can find links to our social media like Twitch where we're at Pixel Scandal, Instagram where we're at Pixel Scandal, or Facebook where we're at Pixel Scandal Show. They can find links to our audio feed if they want to listen to this as an audio podcast in iTunes or Google Play or any pod receptacle of their choice. Or they can find, what else do we do?
Patreon.
Other stuff. They can find out how to support us by going to pixelscandal.com because we have links to our Patreon where they can go and become a patron and get backer rewards and find some of our character creation episodes and recaps of our actual plays that we've done. And they can also find links to this Twitch channel where we're streaming this live in case they want to watch live and subscribe and support us that way as well.
Yep. Well, awesome. Thank you so much for watching tonight, and we will see you next Sunday at 1 p.m. PST Pixel Scandal time. And until then, we'll have a good week.
If you're on YouTube, please click follow so we can get a URL.
Go sub on YouTube.
Please.
Thanks.
All right. Good night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.